What's up everyone and welcome back to HateWatchers. Today we're doing a quick review of The Witcher Blood Origin because it's just that bad. Let's dive right into the recap. Spoilers ahead. Well, if you had any question what this Witcher prequel show is going to be about, Mini Driver tells us the entire plot in the first 5 minutes.
7 estranged warriors who come together to fight an unstoppable empire, bring humans and monsters to the world via the conjunction of the spheres, create the very first version of a Witcher.
This elf is asking Jaskier to hear her tale and record it as a song to help spur the elves' survival in this time. Fjall, a royal protector who gets banished for plowing the princess, eventually meets Ayla, a warrior turned singer. After the chief sage Balor brings a monster to kill the heads of the 3 monarchies at a false peace treaty, Fjall's ex-slam piece becomes empress, but in title only, and Fjall and Ayla band together to take down an empire. The two meet Cian, a swordswoman who's looking to retrieve a magical sword stolen from her people. No one calls her out for culturally appropriating blue eyes, and the 3 set out for the capital city Centrea. We meet Sindril, a powerful mage or sage or whatever this show calls wizards, who's in jail. We learn that he's the one who raised up the monolith and found a way to use it to open portals to other worlds. Fjall, Ayla, and Cian, now fugitives, are tracked down by Brother Death, and they invite him to join their party just like that. The 4 meet the mages Zachary and Sindril, who's out on bail now, and obviously they join the party too. They use a monolith to open a portal and unknowingly step into the world of monsters. One chases them back through the portal, and they make it back just in time to meet Meldoff, the vengeful dwarf who escorts them away from Balor's monster. Sindril has the bright idea to create a monster of their own to combat Balor's beast, and he intends to fuse the heart of the monster they killed with a member of their party, a role Ayla volunteers for. Fjall yoinks the responsibility right from under her and becomes the first Witcher. Cian leaves to betray the group, offering to bring Empress Merwin's forces to Fjall, who she's looking to capture and breed, in exchange for the return of Cian's people's sword. For some reason, Fjall and Ayla are in love now, and they bang. Cian, who was obviously never going to betray our protagonists, betrays the antagonist, and our heroes don the soldier's armor so they can sneak into the capital. How do they intend to get around the fact that the 100% white male group of soldiers who left the city come back looking more diverse than a Rings of Power influencer event? Who knows? Just don't think about it. Merwin is sending Eredin out with scouting parties to find new worlds to colonize. Despite being at odds with Balor after both her and Balor have made power grabs at the expense of the other, she allows him to go along where he expeditiously kills his sign language interpreter, gains control of chaos magic, and wormholes the scouting party to some unknown world. Cian uses Fjall as bait to gain an audience with the Empress, who betrays their deal. Ayla uses her cringy overacting to stir up a riot of the commoners outside the palace. Fjall breaks free of his chains and Balor's monster comes for him, and Cian breaks free as well. She lets the rest of our heroes in and they fight through the palace. The dwarf gets shot right above the heart and doesn't even fall down. Ayla confronts Merwin and just wants to deliver a self-righteous speech instead of just throwing a knife through her face like she has with every other enemy. She eventually does knife the Empress and leaves her for dead. The Empress eventually delivers a stupid line requesting that her assassins remember her before she dies atop the throne. Fjall turns into some rubber suit-wearing monster and one-shots Balor's beast. Zachary binds Sindril's power with Balor's power and uses it to destroy the monolith. Fjall is out of control and murders Brother Death, and now it's clear why they couldn't have had our diverse female protagonist be the first Witcher. She couldn't have been shown to do anything wrong. Speak of the devil, Ayla shows up and sings her stupid song and Fjall calms down before begging Ayla to kill him. She obliges and he dies, and then she lets out a ridiculous scream. Sindril shatters the monolith, killing himself and Balor, and piercing the boundaries between worlds as we see the conjunction of the spheres take place. Some humans are transported to the elven world. Brother Death is alive, apparently. Eredin becomes the leader of the Wild Hunt by finding half a helmet. Now with her people's special magic prophecy sword in her possession, Cian just buries it in the dirt. Monsters are now terrorizing this world. Ayla is pregnant with a baby carrying the Witcher blood, and we end with Jaskier writing down the last of the story of the 7 who toppled an empire, and the series comes to a merciful end. Actually, there's a post-credit scene where Avallac'h is creeping on Ciri, an allusion to his later obsession with her, just so we would have to suffer 10 more seconds of this show, and then it ends. Well, we've reached that point in the video where we have to decide if this prequel show was a great watch or a hate watch, and just as everyone suspected it would be, it's a grade A hate watch. And for once, everyone agrees. Even the critics thought this spectacle of unbridled diversity was hot garbage, with Blood Origin only mustering a 33%, which still towers above the fitting 9% audience rating. The most obvious problem with this effort, if you can call it that, is that the writers clearly had too much free reign with this project. Finally free from having to work off of the source material they so clearly hate, Blood Origin just reeks of being the brainchild of a writer's room filled with the worst kind of entitled, creatively bankrupt millennials who have never left the comfort of their bubbles and have never had their views challenged or told that their ideas suck. You know, the status quo for TV writers these days. The same people infecting seemingly every new project. Blood Origin is riddled with curse words and packed to the gills with the kind of dick jokes that only these people who stopped mentally developing at 13 would think to include. And their Adderall-riddled brains couldn't even seem to pick a direction for this show. They wanted to tell a story of rebellion, and revenge, and love, and monsters, and interdimensional sci-fi, and magic, and diversity, and action, and betrayal, and adventure, and sacrifice, and destiny. It's the kind of hyperactive narrative wandering that you just can't have in a 4-episode limited series. This show wanted to be everything, and in the end, it's nothing. The writers are absolute amateurs who are unable to control their worst instincts and are more concerned with inclusion than writing anything coherent or interesting. At this point, we're surprised that the flying monster wasn't in a wheelchair and that it didn't have blue hair and crippling social anxiety. And what are the odds that the writers made sure that it was the ethnically diverse woman who birthed the Witcher bloodline, so that when lore buffs and people who actually know and love the source material complain, they can just point the finger and call them racist bigots as they so often love to do? We're saying those odds are pretty high. The show looked cheap more often than not, and it was just a generic fantasy story. Nothing really tells you that you're in the Witcher universe until the last 10 minutes. And that's clearly what they wanted all along, to tell their own story free from the responsibility of adhering to the source material they despise and abuse the Witcher brand for cheap views. Luckily, based on the reception, they're not fooling anyone. There were truly no redeeming qualities to Blood Origin at all. The opening scene with Jaskier, of all people, was probably the high point of the show. It was all downhill from there. The action was mediocre, the settings were unimaginative, the monsters, all 2 of them, were unremarkable. The attempt at character development was baffling. And all of this is without even getting into how the events in this fan fiction contradict and undermine the established lore. Speaking of which, we have confirmation now that Eredin, leader of the Wild Hunt, is homosexual. Who had that one on their bingo card? Better yet, who ever wondered or cared at all what his sexuality was? And even more importantly, what the fuck kind of origin story is this for him? Did he go through some torturous, soul-crushing experience that turned him wicked? Nope, he just got lost and found a helmet in the sand. That's it. And talk about simplifying the lore. Eredin becoming who we later know him as the leader of the Wild Hunt, the first Witcher being created, the conjunction of the spheres, and the planting of the first seed of the Witcher bloodline all happened within about 15 minutes of each other. We knew going into this 4-episode show that the timeline was going to be tight, but this is just shameful. They shoehorned all of the important, universe-defining events into a window of time shorter than we sat through this dwarf making dick jokes. And Ithlin and Avalok, both important figures in the lore, are little more than footnotes here. All in all, Blood Origin is another crappy project, headed by people who openly disrespect the source material and who put their messaging before their storytelling. And in terms of the reception of this show, they're getting what they fucking deserve. Thank you to everyone who made it to this point in the video. Let us know in the comments below. Did you even give Blood Origin a shot? Did it ruin your Christmas? Please remember to like the video if you liked it, as it helps our videos reach more struggling fans out there. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button below to stay tuned to the channel for when Season 3 of The Witcher returns this summer. We have a feeling it'll be a shit show, pun intended. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.